think we're live. Hi, everybody. If we have anybody joining us today, we are doing our live broadcast of Wicked by Gregory Maguire. That is the book that we studied for January, February in the Broken Book Club. Today with me I have my friend Kirsty Motichka, and our new friend Michelle has joined the panel. So Michelle is a prime example of what I want to happen with this book club. If you guys get involved, we want to get you more involved. So if you get involved in the discussions and the live feeds and the chat rooms and stuff, I want to get you guys on the live panels. So yeah, that's definitely the direction we want to go in, and I'd like to see lots more of you guys join us on these panels, and I want to hear your thoughts. So, all right, yeah. So overall, I think what were you guys' impression of the book?
I gave it like a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I really liked how, cause I liked how it kind of followed with the Wizard of Oz theme, but it just took it through the antagonist, it took it through Elphaba's, the evil witch's perspective, rather than the good side, and kind of took her story instead of someone else's. So
it's kind of like the theme that we're starting to see come out more, where it's like, you know what, just because they're labeled as bad doesn't mean they are bad. We don't know the whole story, so until you see both sides, it's kind of like maybe hold off your judgment until you figure out what's actually going on.
Yeah, which applies to real life as well.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Maybe. I mean, it's hard to say in circumstances like Hitler and stuff like that. It's hard to take the side that, like, he was a human being too, and there's no such thing as a real villain because everybody's a real human being with real things going on. But, I mean, it would be really interesting if, like, someone personally knew Hitler and, like, came out with some kind of, like, crazy story about, like this, like just from Hitler's perspective, what was happening, and everyone was like, "Oh, I understand now."
Well, apparently, like, he was abused, I want to say, as a child, but I guess that's not.
I mean, that's what I heard from one of my friends, because she read Mein Kampf, and she was being judged when she was reading it, but she was like, well, I just kind of want to understand from his perspective.
Yeah.
Of how
I don't think there's anything wrong with reading that. Like.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't mind reading it.
I think it would be super, like, educational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, too. Yeah, I wouldn't mind reading that. Definitely. It would, like, yeah, I just like books like this where you get, like, where you consider things you've never thought about before about the villain in the story. So, yeah, I definitely liked the concept of this book. And we've seen it in movies, too. Like, what was, it was the Sleeping Beauty one, with...
Oh, Maleficent?
What's her face? Yeah, Maleficent. They came out with that.
That one was good.
Maleficent wasn't too bad. I mean, it kind of dragged at certain parts. I mean, it was also part of the acting, too. The only one that was really into it was Angelina Jolie, and everyone else was like,
Floundering a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, conceptually though, I really liked
it. The movie and I fell asleep, so.
Yeah.
It's really funny, like, that you mentioned that, because, like, my cousin who has autism, he, like, even started talking about that. He's like, so, it's, people aren't always what you think they are. Hey, and I'm like, that's an awesome, like, thing that you were able to grasp that concept. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, conceptually, I was like kind of excited for this book. I didn't know what to expect going into it. Like I was like, I didn't know even what to expect style-wise or anything. Like this wasn't a book that I've ever really been drawn to read for some reason. But yeah, that's why I like book club stuff, or like taking suggestions from viewers and everything, because it gets me reading books that I would have never necessarily read. For some reason, I just had some sort of like thing with this one. I just didn't want to pick it up. So it was good that the book club picked it. And I think, I don't know, I didn't know what to expect going in, and then reading it. It was sort of like I was really into it for the first bit, parts of it. I liked the writing, like I liked his storytelling style. Um, but then, like the next 2 quarters of the book, I sort of like
It got a bit choppy.
it got a bit choppy and dry. Like I was really struggling to push through some of that stuff. Like at the what's the school called?
Shiz?
Gillikin.
Shiz.
Oh, Gillikin.
Yeah, Shiz. Like that whole part, the whole second part, I was like, that was a struggle for me. Like I felt some things really like dragged on a little bit, and he spent a lot of time on things that maybe he could have breezed over a little bit more. And then the last 2 sections started picking up again for me, especially when it got around to actually interacting with what happened in the Wizard of Oz original
I
story.
liked how it started with the prologue beginning with Wizard of Oz, and then towards the end, for the end, the ending of Wizard of Oz.
Into the side of a garage.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
beside a garage.
No, it was smashed into. They said it's wrecked.
Like totaled?
Yeah.
So my roommate's car got stolen yesterday, and they just found it.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I know,
Poor
wild.
Gabby.
But, yeah, they found it though, so that's good.
But it's totaled?
Well, they said it's smashed, so I don't know what that means. I guess we'll find out.
Well, at least they found it. So,
yeah, exactly.
Flip side.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
it's not like
so
yours and it's missing forever.
yeah, that was just, I don't know what that was. So what were your thoughts on the book, Kirsty? Like general overview thoughts?
I really liked it. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars just because it wasn't like, oh my god, I love this book. It was just, I'm really glad I read it. I really enjoyed it. I loved the writing and, you know, the different take on an old story. A lot of people like warned me and were like, oh, it's not like the musical at all. And I'm like, some of the things that happen in it, yeah, like I could see why they would think that, but I don't think it was that different to like drive people away from it. It's definitely kind of, you know, mature themes throughout the book. So it's kind of like if you're not comfortable with mature themes, then yeah, of course you probably should either wait to read it or not read it at all.
Yeah.
But I think as far as like, you know, there's definitely differences between the book and the musical, which were necessary because, you know, you're taking this huge book and squishing it to, you know, a few hours. But I mean, overall, I thought it was great. I loved everything. It just felt like it was over descriptive.
Yeah.
Like I felt like at the beginning where he was like talking about, you know, the whole like her mom having like all these affairs and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, you know how short you could have made all that? Like we didn't really need this huge backstory. So,
yeah.
Other than that, I loved it. So, yeah.
Yeah, why don't we talk about those affairs for a minute? Because I think those were weird for me. Like I was almost sort of, maybe it was a thing that was purposefully this way, but I was a little bit uncomfortable with the I don't know, subject material. I don't know how I would put that. It was just like too much for me almost.
Well,
like
I think
there was something weird about it. There was something just like weird and off. Which is like what she was doing was definitely weird and off. So I guess it made you feel exactly like, yeah.
Well, she did give birth to green babies, so it's not like she's gonna, you know, it's not like she's gonna be completely normal. So she's gonna have some really wacky, crazy kind of encounters with men and probably some other people that aren't men, and, you know, different kind of fantasy creatures in that world. And I think that's what the author was kind of trying to figure. He was also trying to figure out how to explain how she turned green, which no one really I
think she was green because her mom slept with an elf? No, not an elf. Some sort of mystical creature. Do you remember that, Kirsty?
It was the elixir, because
I thought it was the elixir because they kept talking about her eating these like green leaves or elixirs
yeah,
or something like that. So it was something that she
yeah,
was
I think
consuming.
that was yeah, I think it was one thing that they made sure to be very obvious about in the musical was how she ended up green. And so like when I read that part, I was like, okay, that is basically how it happened. Even though it doesn't really actually explain it, like it doesn't say like the science behind it, which kind of sucks for, if you're interested in that part. It sucks that he didn't really explain it, but
There is no science behind it. It's a miracle elixir.
it was magic, is basically what
Yeah.
it was.
Interesting. Yeah, see, I didn't. They were being obvious about it. Like, oh well, in the musical, I haven't seen the musical, and I haven't seen the Wizard of Oz either. It got into some parts where I was like, I wonder if it would help if I had seen Wizard of Oz first, because I
Kind
feel
of,
like
but not really. So,
yeah, well, I still generally knew what was going on, but I feel like maybe some of the nuances or like, you know how when you see a movie or reverse, when you read a book first and then the movie comes out and you're like, ha, yeah, I remember that, or like, um, yeah, just with stuff like that or if you've read the first book and then a second book comes out and you don't necessarily have to read the first book to read the second, but you catch little like things that you wouldn't know unless you read the first book. I was sort of getting that vibe that maybe, like I was understanding it, but maybe some of the references
Yeah.
could
I
have
was just
been.
thinking of like, I haven't seen Wizard of Oz either, but then I remembered that I was actually in it,
Oh,
in the band.
that's funny.
I've seen Wizard of Oz several times, though, but I also grew up in a family that was always like, like my mom basically pulled me out of school just to go and see the first Harry Potter. So, and like literally her note was like, "Sorry, Michelle has good grades, so I pulled her out of school." So that's why she didn't show up. So I mean, that's pretty much like my family background. So I always
That's
grew
funny.
up with Oz, I always grew up with Labyrinth and all these different stuff. So I always grew up in magical realms.
Hmm. Yeah. What was I gonna say? So, okay, yeah, I didn't catch that at all from the book that she was green because of that elixir. That went over my head, I guess, because I think at this point I was stuck on. I think maybe it was Nanny or something. Maybe Nanny just kind of like, you know how she would kind of like question was that her name Melina, the mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She would be like, so did you like, I think at one point she was like, so did you sleep with like an elf or something? Like she was just questioning her, and I think my brain probably latched onto that idea, and so I probably just like skimmed right on over the actual thing, which was
Well,
she was
I
green
mean,
because of the elixir.
I think that Nanny was trying to figure that out, but I think she was also acceptant that because like the dad Frex was like, well, she's a girl, and she's like, so, and she's green, and so I think Nanny was trying to go and figure out more of Marina's point of view, but she was also acceptant of Elphaba, so.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't too. She was just kind of. I think she was also kind of concerned for mom's health. So maybe that was it. So.
Was that the miracle elixir? Was that what she was taking at the end of the novel?
I think she was mainly taking it towards the end because of she didn't want Nessaros to be like Elphaba. So she.
No, I mean, so Elphaba found that miracle elixir somewhere. Like she had that like at the very end of the novel. Elphaba was like she had that bottle of something. I'm like trying to see if I can find it. And she like when she was like trying to figure out everything, she like before she went to sleep, she drank a little bit from this bottle to see what would happen.
Oh yeah, okay, I do remember that part.
My roommate's baking.
She just like bakes all the time.
Yep, she does.
Baking
It's
and
a
cookies,
chocolate
life
cake.
you live.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to find because like part of the bottle was rubbed off. So both times I mentioned it at the end, it was like miracle lit, like it was cut off. So I'm just wondering if it's the miracle elixir, then that would be what her mom was taking that made her green then. And I just did not catch that at all. I feel like it was after the clock stuff. That's one part that I was really into. Maybe we'll talk about that later. Okay, yeah, so if it's the same as mine, it'll be on page 489.
What chapter is it in?
It's in the section, The Murder and Its Afterlife, chapter part 2.
I think it's like I think it's like chapter 11 if we're talking about The Murder and Its Afterlife.
Yeah. So yeah, this is what it says. Maybe I can just hold it up to the camera. So do you see that right there?
Okay, yeah.
Miracle Lit. That's backwards for you, but yeah. So that's what she was drinking at the end of the, like, I can't remember where she found that bottle, in her dad's house maybe?
Probably, because I mean, she spent so much time around that area, so it was probably around.
Yeah.
In her dad's house. So.
Well, this was the same thing that I was trying to find at the beginning of the book, because Milena had given it to Nanny, and said, "Well, this is the stuff I was given to drink by some random guy," and then she obviously ended up sleeping with him, but she blacked out, right?
Yeah, she got it from.
And that's basically what happened in the musical too.
Right. Yeah, I remember that now.
You're emotionally damaged from the situation.
Okay, yeah, so I didn't catch that at all. Okay, so what did you guys, I don't know if they went into this at all in the musical, but what did you guys think when we found out that Frex was also in love with Turtle Heart? And they, like the way he put it, they were sharing him. I was like,
don't remember that at all in the musical, but
I was like, what?
No, that is definitely not in the musical. It was weird. I was like,
yeah, like there's certain parts. There's like, you know, of course the musical they had changed quite a bit in the musical from the book, but they just kind of took some of the premise from the book into the musical. But there's like certain things like, you know, Turtle Heart sharing, you know, both spouses and stuff like that, doing the love triangle that they left out, and that kind of, I think they kind of left that part out on purpose because it probably would have felt a little weird and a little
it is weird.
A little hard to explain to the audience.
Yeah.
To the general audience, let me say.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I guess it fit though, like, because the whole time you were wondering, like, is Frex just a straight up idiot? Like, how is he not seeing that Melina is like sleeping with this guy? Like, it's so obvious. Like, this guy is staying in their home when he's not even there. Like, it's just, he just came across as super stupid until this reveal, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, it makes sense now. It makes sense. Yeah, that was one of those things I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, maybe he realized that he couldn't, like, give that part of what his wife wanted to her, so he was, like, okay with it. Like, and I have heard of guys being like that, where it's like, you know what, yeah, or the opposite, like, women being like that, kind of like how Fiero's wife was, where she's like, yeah, if you want to sleep with my sisters, go ahead.
Yeah, more like open marriages, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was yeah, one of those moments you're, wait, did I read that right? What? But yeah, that explained a lot. And then one thing I guess I don't understand is why did Frex think it blame himself for Turtle Heart's death? Like, he went to Turtle Heart's hometown or whatever and told his family that, like, he took the blame for his death. But I don't understand where that logic came in.
I think it was also the part of him being I guess a minister and like a person of religion and, you know, talking faith, that he felt obligated to go ahead and say something to the family. And that he felt like it was, if he didn't do it, you know, he just felt guilty. So I think that's what mainly came from it, is that he didn't, in my opinion, he didn't feel like it was his fault, but he felt like it was his duty to kind of give his condolences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, like the first part, like with this whole like background when Elphaba was a baby, it was interesting to me. Like I didn't struggle to read it. I liked the writing and the storytelling. Like that part wasn't dry, but like what was happening was sort of like weird for me. I think he definitely could have spent less time on it. Mm-hmm. It's like significantly to the story. What else does Turtleheart play? What other role in the significance of the story does Turtleheart play?
I think he was kind of like a bridge to help Milena, I guess, love her child. Because, like, she did because it was her child, but she didn't really care before. And then after he came in, I felt like he was like, you really need to pay attention to her because she is your daughter and she is beautiful no matter what. So I really like that about him.
Yeah, she got that from female perspective of Nana, but she never actually got that from a male perspective of her husband, so she had to go and get from someone, which was Turtleheart. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that was just like a weird thing altogether. Melina's mom just needed to get laid, I guess. Okay, so anything else from maybe part 1 that you guys want to talk about? We can come back to it if it comes up too, but oh yeah, let's talk about, okay, so the introduction of the Clock of the Time Dragon. So this is like, I think, yeah, by the end of the novel, I think I was understanding the clock a little bit better. Like, it seems to be some sort of, like, I guess it would be like a fortune teller, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that was the general gist of it. What was your first, like, thoughts about it? Like, but I guess you guys have seen the musical, and I haven't. Yeah. So I was floundering in this part a little bit. Like, I was like, I don't really know what's going on. I think, what was like the letter about the Clock of the Time Dragon, I think, was what I wrote down. Page 18. Oh yeah, this was the one where it was like, where the clock like basically outed this guy who was he saw a marriage bed with a puppet wife and a husband. The husband was asleep. The wife sighed and made a motion with her hands to suggest her husband was disappointingly small. The dragon and pointed its talons, indicating, yeah, so he pointed right at someone in the audience.
I think it was more of like exposing people, because like they were all about this one specific religion. It seemed like they were just trying to be like, hey, we're all sinners here. There's no use hiding.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, that
I think
makes
that's
sense.
Where it got to basically pointing out Frex's sins, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, yeah, I think this is where I generally like. I tend to find things like this a little dry, like political and religious, like back and forth and stuff. So I sort of like, it's like when I was reading all of this and like continually through the book, like I was getting it. I was understanding what was going on, but I feel like the meaning, like what the book was trying to say, was going a little bit over my head because I was just like I was finding it too dry to constantly like process. You know what I mean? So I was skim reading a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think that's
I
the
kind of
whole
agree,
issue. I think that's the whole
Yeah.
issue of people trying to read high fantasy, because there's always religion and there's always politics involved. That's why they're so big and long and lengthy, and that's why most people are intimidated to read Game of Thrones or,
Right.
you know, some books that are like over 1,000 pages or close to 1,000 pages long. That's
Right.
Like Game
most
of
people
Thrones.
I
won't
love
get
Game of
into.
Thrones, though. I love that for some
I
reason.
know.
So I
It's
think,
like,
yeah, it must just depend on the book. I don't know, but with this one, I just like wasn't really having it so much.
I think he was very like, it wasn't continuous, or that like the thought was there, but it wasn't explained very well, I think is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like why it was like not a 5-star book, it was a 4-star book, because there's just so many, like it almost raised more questions than
There were
answered.
so many gaps where, like, you thought that, I mean, if you never heard of Son of the Witch, you automatically thought Wicked would be just like a standalone. But with him leaving out so many gaps, he's like, hey, this is a little continuation, saying that's a new series. So, which
Yeah, I don't think I'll continue.
I mean, I already got Son of a Witch, but it's one of those where, I mean, I'm not gonna be rushing into it.
Yeah.
Right.
One of those, like,
That's me too.
if I'm up to it, I'll go and read it, but whenever I'm done reading something else, you know, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
I'm also one of those that's gonna be like doing a series, and like I'm continuing on with the Lunar Chronicles, and like reading one book, and I'll be jumping into another book that's contemporary, and then kind of break it up from there.
I love that series. I know you weren't like a huge fan, but oh my goodness, 5 out of 5.
I'm liking Scarlet, but to me, it's like Cinder was so much one directional, and with Scarlet, it's like it's backtracking between Cinder and Scarlet, which to me it seems like those kind of characters. That's how I think for Marissa Meyer's writing is such. How I'm seeing it is like she needs like both of the main characters in the book, or else it's just gonna seem dry. That's my opinion.
You just wait, girl. You just wait until Cress. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, like, because I really liked Game of Thrones, but maybe it's like the more time I have yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain my likes and dislikes, but I straight up say this in my bio on YouTube. It's like sometimes I like something in one book that I hate in another book. I think it just depends on the execution by the author and like the factors, the rest of the context surrounding it and all that kind of stuff. So with this one, I wasn't particularly interested in the religious and political debates. I guess when the ideas started to like form, like really solidify, like about the
animals versus animals.
Yeah, like I feel like he spent a lot of time on that too, which was like I understand. It's one of those things that I understand why he had to spend so much time, and I wouldn't necessarily say you need to spend less time, because that's all world building and circumstance building, like and which again, like you said, Michelle, it's like it's part of high fantasy. Like it just kind of comes with the territory, and at the end of the book, you look back and you're like, okay, it all makes sense now. Like this was all worth it in the end. Whereas when you're reading it, it's sort of like the whole time I was reading this book, I knew it was definitely one of those books that I was gonna have to get to the end to have a perspective on. I think an accurate perspective. Like when I was reading it, I was like, I'm not particularly understanding like what all these like minor events have to do with the entire book, but I feel like it's one of those books that when I get to the end, I'll understand it more, which I think is, again, in the just like a pretty general thing that you find in like drama, high fantasy. Like you have to get to the end of the book to understand all the little goings on in context.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, what did I just do?
Ruined it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
think I really
sorry,
almost wish they would have left the religion part out of it because I felt like it was too split up between the two sides. It would have been good if it was just religion or just politics. And I felt like because of the animal issue, it would have been better to just leave it just politics.
Yeah.
But I guess, again, Game of Thrones does the same thing. They do religion and politics. And I guess
Yeah. I think every world has religion and politics. Well, I guess, like, I don't know if they could take religion out because she's a witch. Like, that's pretty, like, foundational religious stuff, I think.
Well, but I mean, like, did Harry Potter have any kind of religious? I
The
don't
only
remember
religious
it being.
thing for Harry Potter was like, oh, they're wizards, and that was kind of their religion is just doing spells and like, doing little tricks with their wands. That was pretty much their religion. But
Yeah.
I just see that as
It didn't
doing
get
magic.
it didn't really get into any religious debates, though, I don't think. Yeah, you're right. But there were politics, I guess, in a way.
With the
like
whole
minor.
like purebloods and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's true. I guess they could have bypassed it, but this is more of an adult novel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. See, like, whenever I get to the end of a book, I'm like, yeah, I can see why this was important, and this was important, and this was important. So now it's like I'm having trouble being like, exactly which parts could he have taken out? Like, I feel like there was some things too long somewhere, but I don't know what. Kirsty, what did you think of, like, the animal politics? I feel like that's like right up your alley.
Yeah, no kidding. I probably would have been Alphaba in that situation. Like, I would have been like right up there fighting with her, and even if she didn't let me, like, I would have probably been helping her in Dr. Dilliman's lab, and yeah, I was right there because I'm like, it's the same thing with, like kind of how everything's going on now in the States with, with the gay and LGBTQ population and all that. It's like they're, now it's gotten a lot better than it used to, but 8 years ago.
It's still a little. I mean, it's still a little tricky.
It's
like,
not
with not
good.
Only, well, it's not only that, but also with them saying, us not trying to be like other European countries, like with the whole Obamacare thing. Right when that usually in American politics, if the Supreme Court says it's not, it's like this law isn't unconstitutional, it's law. When Supreme Court passes something, it's law. It's like a cloud that you can't shoot up from the sky. And when Obamacare passed, I was living in Oklahoma at the time, and Oklahoma, along with 8 other states, said, sorry, we're not going to do a marketplace thing. It's not our thing. We're going to go and wait till it's repealed. And it's like, no, the Supreme Court already passed it. You have to do it. So, but for 2014, I paid $500 because I made 20 grand in 2014 in the state of Oklahoma, and that was because of Obamacare passing and them not wanting to implement it. And they had all these fees, federal fees for that state, saying if you're not going to do this, we're going to go and beat you just because, this is law, you have to do it. And that's also the issue with them recently passing the whole, gay rights with anyone who's same-sex getting married in any state. That's some of the issues with them having to deal with, certain states saying, nope, you can't get married, and they say, nope, we're going to go ahead and do it because it's federal law. You can't reject it. Yeah. It's federal law.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just like the whole, I mean, I understand it's a little different because, I mean, they're clearly, like, it's, the way people need to look at it is, if we were all in the universe and we're all alien species to another, it's like we would all have to somehow manage together. And I feel like everyone would want equal rights. And so that's kind of the issue that's going on with Wicked, is not everyone's getting equal rights, even though they are just as intelligent as the other species.
Yeah, like this guy was a professor.
Yeah. So it's just like, what was wrong with that? Like, really, what was so wrong with that? And it was just weird because it was a backwards. Like, it worked backwards. Everything was fine in the beginning, and then they backtracked and said, oh, no, wait, we're going to take away all your rights. So,
yeah, that was strange.
My battery's dying, so I have to go get my plug-in, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Did you like all the political stuff then, Michelle, or?
I liked it, I kind of agree with you that they put so much religion into it that didn't really need to be put into it, and the whole school thing was kind of dragging. It's kind of like a really magical High School Musical thing, because it was also light and fluffy. It's, oh, look, no one can really afford to go to the school, but we're still going to be talking about it.
Yeah. Well, and they went into like a lot of detail about, like, I don't know, do you pronounce it Bach? Like her friend Bach and his like insane crush on Glinda.
Yeah.
And then so I'm not sure what the, like, why did the author spend so much time there aside from character development? Because
maybe I was trying to appeal to a younger audience that wouldn't usually read the book, and not only that, but aren't so much into Wizard of Oz, since it's like kind of a retelling of Wizard of Oz. So maybe that's what he was trying to implement, just like kind of a younger audience of it. It still was a storyline that just kind of should have easily just been left out.
Yeah, if there's anything I could definitely like point to that could have been shorter or cut, it was definitely like the whole, like, how much time did they spend on that? Like, it was like, but I guess, yeah, there are scenes that, like Bach dragging Elphaba to that, like, summer home where they were staying.
And just doing the whole summer
there was certain
stuff, yeah.
I think a lot of that could have just been skipped, because in the end, like, he didn't really play a significant role in her future, aside from her, like, running into him once when she showed up at his house that one time.
Yeah.
And she talked to him about, like, have you seen this, like, little girl? And he's like, yeah, I saw her. But, like, other than that, like, I don't know.
Like,
I don't know what
easily been, like, what were the other friends' names? There was Crope or whatever in Tibet, or whatever their names were, or Averick. It's like, he could have easily been one of those characters. I really liked the way they portrayed him in the musical better, because he just was like this lovesick boy over Glinda, and that was literally his role. He did anything for Glinda.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I'll be looking, that I wouldn't mind seeing, is because they're still in the whole works of making the movie, and there's the whole thing of, you know, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel wanting to both still play, you know, Glinda and Alphabet, and they're like, no, you guys are like 40, so no. No.
It's like, as much as we would love you two, how long ago were you Alphaba and Glinda? Like, really?
It's one thing if you do it in a musical, but
like, they could be the older ones, but
they could probably be the older ones. They could probably pull it off, but like the high school ones, it'd have to be younger.
Yeah, but then it's like, why bother? Why not just get the actors and do up their makeup to make them look younger or older?
Yeah.
Like, they can't. You can only make someone look so young. And I mean, they probably could do it with them, but like, your voice changes a lot as you grow older, so that's a little harder to fake.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, in the end, like, what do you think was Bach's overall significance? Like, he would be, in regards to a musical, he would be a funny character just to, like, fill space, you know, like the lovesick kid at the high school. But in significance of a book, like, what was his role?
Probably
to me, he just seemed like a joker, so. He just
I
seemed like
see
a
him as like
jerk now.
softening up Elphaba a little bit, like getting
Yeah.
her to have a friend outside of Glinda, who she was barely even friends with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so let's talk about Glinda and Elphaba's relationship right up until the end. Because it was sort of like, again, I haven't seen The Wizard of Oz, so I was sort of asking people, I'm like, so is there like I'm just like so I was completely naive to everything. I was like, so is there a witch or a sorceress called Glinda in The Wizard of Oz? They're like, yes, Glinda the Good Witch. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that name sounds familiar. Like, okay, starting to see. But yeah, like I guess from what I could gather, this book, what I liked about this book was it did a good job of giving context to a lot of things that you're just like, you didn't even realize you were missing context on.
Mhm.
Like, I think from what I can gather in the movie, Glinda the Good Witch was against Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they seemed like enemies in the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then in the book, it was more so like, they were never really tight friends, but they were still like old friends, I guess.
They were
Yeah.
kind of like really good acquaintances, kind
Yeah.
of.
Good acquaintances. And then like the whole thing with the shoes, like Glinda giving away the shoes was like, I just really liked how this all, see, and this was the political stuff that I liked. Like, sure, reading about it was dry, but seeing all these things evolve out of it, like there was like political surroundings there was political context to the reason why Elphaba was pissed about her shoes going to this chick. So it's like, I did like how Gregory Maguire sort of gave a lot of, like, not even like a little context. Like, it wasn't like a child's version of the Wicked Witch of the West's perspective. It was like he gave a very adult version. Like, there were like in-depth politics as to why these shoes should not have been with Dorothy, and that was why this witch was after her, which I thought was very interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it was like another thing too. He portrays Glinda as people like blindly following her or blindly loving her because she's so good. But he points out in Wicked, like, that wasn't exactly true. Like, she wasn't that nice of a person. She did get a little bit better, but like, yeah, in contrast to the musical, like, she was like, oh yeah, she was my friend, kind of. And it's, so it's
We
just
knew
like,
each other.
yeah, it's like, I knew her. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I found that really interesting how people like called her the Glinda the Good Witch and just kind of blindly followed her, when in reality she was sort of this person who like self-admittedly only did things, like she did charitable things for her own gain.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
why she did these things, and she was just
kind
like
of selfish. Yeah.
yeah, she was just
She
like
wanted people
she
to
was
love her.
yeah, she was strategic in her selfishness. So I thought that was interesting for sure. Like, I really like, I'm gonna watch The Wizard of Oz, and then maybe it'll be like a reverse thing where I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. Like, that,
Yeah.
good job, Gregory Maguire, even more so the way I am. Like, I have a general outline of sort of what happened, but what kind of things was I surprised about? I was surprised by the wizard's personality. Is that how he came off in the movie, The Wizard of Oz?
He kind of did, yeah, that's what I remember.
Like, he was just like a jerk?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Huh.
Like, even in The Wizard of Oz, the movie, he was a
The
jerk.
Wizard of Oz, and even in the Oz for the Good and Powerful for with James Franco playing Wizard of Oz, he was kind of just towards the end. He just kind of seemed like a dick, but I mean that was
Yeah.
the whole thing of you had to see the whole movie of why he did.
Yeah. It's kind of like he just came in and took over and expected everyone to follow him,
Yeah.
which they did. And so, but he was not that nice of a person.
No, he didn't really
No.
give anyone. He didn't really give anyone options or anything like that.
No.
It's like this or the highway kind of thing.
And yeah, he was just a big liar.
Yeah, a big liar. And then it turns out he's Elphaba's dad. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read that right.
Yeah.
Like, and they probably didn't touch on that in The Wizard of Oz, I would assume. That was Gregory Maguire's thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That was his spin on it.
Frickin' Melina, just maybe it would be easier to keep track of your
Just can't
children
keep her
if
skirt up.
you, yeah.
Or can't keep her skirt on, so.
Like, it would probably be easier to keep track of your children if you didn't have like 20 suitors. But
20 or 40.
yeah, something around those lines. Wow. Yeah, that was another shocking. Yeah, when we found out that the wizard was Elphaba's dad. I wonder if he knows that.
Probably not. I mean, if Melinda got around as much and knew the whole town because she got around as much, then you knew Oz knew her, so you probably just didn't really care.
Yeah.
So he probably has other kids that we don't know about that's just wandering around, the Emerald City and stuff like that, and just wandering around Munchkin Land, stuff like that, and just doesn't really care.
Yeah, that's he didn't seem to care about anything but himself, really. What was the political reasoning behind the shoes again? Like I was it was clicking like when I was reading it, but this all just like as soon as I was done this book, everything just kind of fell out of me.
I think it was more of a personal significance because it was Nessarose's shoes first before.
It was the love of their, Frax, right? I was going to say their father, but I guess he's still their father, just not biologically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think,
sure.
I think Michelle hit that on the head there.
Yeah, he just wanted it for the significance. Mm-hmm. But it didn't actually hold much power. I don't know. It made Nessarose able to walk without help.
Yeah.
But, interesting. I think one of the things I don't, okay, so am I understanding right when I say Nessarose was considered the Wicked Witch because she was a religious dictator?
Kind of.
What else made her wicked? Like, I think those were the things that, on both ends, I'm like, I guess I can understand. Elphaba, I mean, she was sarcastic. I'm not really, and she didn't really care that much about other people, but she did good things like stand up for animals and stuff. I don't, like, aside from murdering that teacher, I don't, like, I'm not sure on either end what constitutes people calling them wicked witches.
Because it's all, like, perspective, right? And that was, I think it's all, like, people see them do something and then they're like, oh my god, they're bad.
Well, not only that, but, I mean, with Alphabet and, like, she was born not only with green skin, but also with sharp fangs, so they automatically assumed of her as being wicked. So Alphabet could have done as many nice things as she possibly could in her lifetime, but people, because of how she looks, would automatically assume that she's wicked. So that's why I think that she was so much angsty and so much into the whole nomads world after Shiz, because she knew that she couldn't actually fit into regular society.
Yeah, so one thing, okay, so we understand why her skin was green, but did he elaborate on what her whole deal with water was? Like, why did water burn her skin? Was there a reason, or it just did?
I think it just did. I didn't remember reading anything about a reason because of it.
I was curious about that. Like, I thought he would elaborate on that for sure. Like, so wait, what's her deal with water? Like, it just hurts her? But I guess it does. So, or Kirsty, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think, like you said, it wasn't really explained well. So it might be something that he might go over in other books, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll know when someone reads them that we know.
Yeah. Anybody can give us their input.
Yeah, I'll probably read them eventually, but yeah, definitely gonna take a break for a while.
Yeah, this was just like one of those reads that you can't marathon.
Yeah, that's
No
for sure.
marathoning the Wicked series.
No, they're easy standalone novels that you can easily read one and then after like a while read another, but
Yeah. Couple years, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. What books are we going to be reading in 10 years?
Books that aren't even written yet.
Yeah. And books that have been written already as well.
Yeah.
And then there'll be classics, you know.
No, they'll be cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. What else have we got here? What should we talk about now?
Good question.
Well, okay, so we haven't really talked about like what did you guys think of Elphaba as a character?
I loved her and hated her.
I loved her. I didn't really hate her. I mean, I kind of understood, like, from diversity point of view, you know, for not only being a girl, but also being bisexual and stuff like that. So I kind of understood with the whole diversity of her, you know, wanting everyone to have, you know, equal rights and everything, not only with animals versus animals, but people having to understand her. And I mean, she was angsty, that's true, but I mean, with her whole family background, it's not like she really had much of a choice. So, I mean, not only with Frax being religious and with Melina being adventurous, let's just say. But
Good way of putting it.
but she just wanted to stand out on her own. So and that's I think one thing that girls always have problem in society, not only within the U.S. but pretty much around the world, is that there's not many girls that are CEOs of companies or anything else like that. So I mean that's how I kind of perceived her as being. Is just independent on her own and trying to make her way into the world.
Right. Yeah, I agree with Kirsty. Like, I had like a love-hate relationship with her. I think she was like, for me, she was one of those people who I really like dry, sarcastic humor. So like, there was a lot of stuff in this book that I found really funny. Like, I don't know if I can elaborate, but for some reason, I wrote down humorous gossip, page 2. So I must have found something really funny on page 2.
Was that like when it was that in the prologue or?
Oh yeah. So it was talking about all these like rumors that people have heard about why the Wicked Witch is evil, and they had some like really funny things. Like it was the discussion between like Dorothy and her crew. Like it would be like, she's a woman who prefers the company of other women. No, she's the spurn lover of a married man. She is a married man. Like just like stuff like that. I find it funny. And then like with Elphaba, like I found a lot of the things like at first, when we went to the school, Gillikin or whatever, and at first she didn't talk much, but when she started talking and being kind of sarcastic, I found her like, I liked that. I thought she was pretty funny. Like she seemed kind of like just like a hard-edged realist, but then it's sort of like at points she kind of definitely turned into like your angsty little cousin who just like sometimes she's funny, but sometimes you want to slap her and tell her to stop being so rude, you know? Like it was kind of like walking the line between that.
Like I felt so bad for Bach when when she brought Glinda to meet him. And I was like, she could have like found it funny, but did she really have to make some of those comments? Like that was kind of mean.
Yeah. That was just so rude. And then she like refused to leave. He was like, "Can me and Glinda get some time alone?" She's like, "No. I'm gonna stay here and make fun of you."
Yeah. Yeah, like other than that, like I love the way that she bantered with him when she first met him after scaring him off the roof.
Yeah.
That was funny. Like just their little quips back and forth. But yeah, just when she was being mean, it was like, okay, you can tone it down.
Yeah.
Like no wonder people hate you.
Yeah.
So
So I don't know if you can really count that as evil, but I mean, she could be
no, but I
mean. She
mean
could be
like
mean sometimes, but
I was actually surprised because like in the musical, Bach like never was friends with her ever. He disliked her throughout the entire thing. So
oh,
I was actually
really?
surprised when they became friends. I was like, oh, that's kind of nice.
Interesting.
So I really liked their friendship. But yeah, it was just really weird because yeah, in the musical he wanted nothing to do with her. I think he was her friend for a little bit, and then completely like turned his back on her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found she was just kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely liked this stuff, like seeing it from her perspective. Because yeah, she grew up like her parents clearly didn't love her, and it was like super sad when she went like later in life. She went to their castle or whatever it was, because her dad wrote her that letter, and she went to see him. And I can't remember what did Gregory Maguire say. But basically it was like Elphaba. Oh yeah, she wipes her dad's tears even though it burns her skin. Like that's what it said. But then like it's clear that her dad just like doesn't really care about her that much. Like he blames her, like he calls her a curse. So it's weird. It's like his dad kind of loves her, or her dad kind of loves her, but at the same time he thinks she was a curse to their entire family. So it was just like a weird thing. But like I don't know how you could grow up not having to be sarcastic in the face of that, because it's almost like you would have to like just learn to take life in stride and shut other people's opinions out, or else you're going to be depressed all the time if you grow up around that kind of stuff.
We should probably, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about in this book.
Oh yeah, lots of stuff.
It's just like,
What
overwhelming.
are you thinking about?
Well, like, 'cause there's just like the whole, like, everything after, like, after she leaves Shiz, it's just kind of like, everything just kind of starts going crazy after that. Interesting. I wish we would have known a little bit more, like, from her perspective throughout the entire book. It seemed to be a lot from other people's perspectives, more so than hers. So that
Yeah.
kind of, even though she was basically the main character, we didn't actually really see many parts from her side of the story.
Yeah, like everything she did, like she had her reasons, which were like just like her going to kill that teacher. It's because that teacher like brainwashed these innocent students into like being, yeah, like. So I definitely, yeah, I just like where Gregory Maguire took the character of Elphaba. Okay, let's jump to that scene where Dorothy and her friends were on their way to the Vinkus, like up to see the Wicked Witch. And then so the Wicked Witch sends out the dogs and then the crows and then whatever. Like, does that happen in the movie?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I remember that the Wicked Witch does send off to get all these different creatures to go ahead and get to Alphabet. I just don't remember to go and get to Dorothy. I just don't remember what specifically they were. Like, because I remember seeing the original, I remember seeing some of the remake and stuff like that, but the only thing that I remember is, like, the flying monkeys. So that's the only one thing that
Oh.
mainly sticks out.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, if those things happened in the movies exactly as it was, and Gregory Maguire was just kind of giving the reasons for them from the witch's perspective. Because she sent the dogs, and she meant that as like a, why did she send her, like, a greeting almost, right? Because at this point, she was trying to delude herself into thinking that the scarecrow might have been, um, Fiyero. So she, like, Fiyero, she sent, like, the dogs out to kind of greet them and bring them home safely. But then the Tin Man just killed all her dogs.
Yeah.
Like, whoa,
The poor
calm down.
puppies.
I think that was just Maguire's twist on the whole fairy tale of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
So the whole battle scene and everything else like that between Dorothy and her gang and Elphaba and her gang.
Yeah.
So I think that was just the whole twist of it.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch the movie because in that whole scene where Dorothy's up in the castle, I want to know, like, how close to the movie that is. I was just, like, curious reading that part.
Yoda decided to join us.
Oh, hey, Yoda. Hi, Yoda. Oh, cute.
And now he's gone.
Yeah. There was, like, I actually wrote this in my notes because I thought this was a good part. There were a couple parts where they started talking about discussion about knowing a witch before she was wicked. Let me see. There were just a couple sections that I actually found, like, really interesting, or that really had to obviously play into the theme. Okay. Apparently I don't know how to count. 298. Yeah, they were having a discussion about, like, knowing a witch before she was wicked. Oh, yeah, right. I don't know. Is you guys' books the same as mine?
Probably.
I think Michelle's is,
mouse-
but mine's not.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
Yours
big.
is huge, Kirsty.
I know.
Show me
I
that
just-
again. Where did you get that from?
I borrowed it from a friend from my other book club,
That
which
is
is funny
huge.
because she hasn't read it.
Crazy.
Like I have a lot of books on my shelf that I haven't read, but it's either she bought it used or she carried it around with her a lot.
Is that the version that has like pictures from the Broadway musical in it, or no?
Yeah, except they are, where is it? Right here. They're torn out.
They're all gone.
Yeah. So I think either she bought it used and it never came with them, or she bought it specifically for those pictures because she has seen the musical.
Yeah.
So she posted them up around her house. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, so on my page 298, they're like, she says, to the grim poor there need be no poor coy tale about where evil arises. It just arises, it always is. One never learns how the witch became wicked, or whether that was the right choice for her. Is it ever the right choice? Does the devil ever struggle to be good again? If so, is he not a devil? It is at very least a question of definitions. So I thought, like, obviously I highlighted that because clearly that's sort of like the obvious theme of the book.
Yeah.
Is exploring, like, how she became wicked and was it the right choice? Was it the right choice for her?
Yeah, and I think also I've never read the classic Wizard of Oz, but I think it's the whole spin of, the musical and Gregory and Maguire, and there's different versions of Wizard of Oz out there, different adaptations, modern and non-modern, that, you know, the adaptators try to get and try to figure it out, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I think the other thing that I highlighted in terms of theme, let's see here, page 474, it was a discussion of what evil is. Yeah, they start on page 473 though. Yeah, they're saying, like, it's an absence of good, that's all. The nature of the world is to be calm and enhance and support life, and evil is an absence of the inclination of matter to be at peace. And then Averic says, evil is an early or primitive stage of moral development. All children are fiends by nature. The criminals among us are the ones who didn't progress. And then an artist said, I think it's a presence, not an absence. Evil's an incarnated character, an incubus or succubus. It's an other. It's not us. Evil isn't a thing. It's not a person. It's an attribute like beauty. It's a power like wind. It's an infection. It's metaphysical, essentially, the corruptibility of creation. So they basically have this debate about what evil is, and then evil is an act, not an appetite. How many haven't wanted to slash the throat of some boor across the dining room table? Present company accepted, of course. Everyone has the appetite. If you give in to it, that act is evil. The appetite is normal. And then someone says, oh no, evil is repressing that appetite. I never repress any appetite. So, yeah, so I think generally they're having a debate about whether, like, I think someone says evil, like, all people are born evil, and then people who are evil when they're adults just never, like, developed. And then another view was that evil is a presence that's not us, that comes upon us and changes the way we are. And then what was the third one? Someone said, like, evil is a choice, basically. Like, everybody has evil thoughts, but it's whether you act on it or not, or that kind of thing. Yeah. So, thoughts on that?
Well, I think they're just saying different perspectives that everyone has in general society about evil. So it could be from one perspective where everyone's born that way, or it's a choice, and that's how, if you do one act, or if you kill a boar and slice its throat across the dining room table, then that automatically makes you evil. But other people that live in near woods and everything like that, they automatically think that's getting you food. That's helping supply food for winter or something like that. So, I mean, it's different perspectives from different parts of the world. So that's how I kind of see that little segment.
Yeah.
I agree. But I think really, in my personal opinion, I think, like, only the second two you can really, like, I don't think anyone can really be born evil. It's all like, perspective, and like you said, it's the choices that you decide to act on. You know, if you are given two options, like, which one, you might really want to do one, but you're like, no, that's wrong. I can't do that. So I don't know. It's getting really political.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, this whole book is really political.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not black and white, which I think is part of the point. Like, the black and white perspective is, here's the good girl Dorothy, and there's the evil witch, and that's it. But there's, like, this book was, like, centering all on the gray area. Like, this witch has a personality, and yeah, she made some choices that maybe were evil to some people, but maybe not to other people. Like, it's just not black and white. So it's hard to be like, this is what evil is. For sure, in every situation, this is what evil is. Like, I don't think there's a black and white answer to that.
Yeah.
Because even sometimes when you're making the choice to do something that typically would be considered evil,
There's a reason behind it.
like there could be any number of reasons behind why you just did what you did. Like, if you're doing it just for the pleasure of being evil, I'd say that's evil.
Yeah.
But if there was like other motives, like, and driving
Revenge
factors
or
and context behind what you chose to do, like, yeah, it's just not black and white. And so I think that maybe was a theme of this book, was just exploring the gray area. That, like, because life is not like, here are the good people, here are the bad people kind of thing.
It's like, here are the people who are all good and all, like, they've all made mistakes, and yeah, that's pretty much how the world is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've all made
exactly.
mistakes. Yeah, I was actually talking about, like, you know, if you had to make a decision between, like, diverting a train to kill one person or let it continue on its path to kill 5, like, what would you do? And then, or would you push a person in front of a train, inevitably killing them in order to save 5 people, or would you be able to make that decision? And it's like, well, that's a pretty hard decision to make. Like, are you going to be the deciding factor of who kills this, like, who dies, essentially, like, this one person or those 5 people? Like,
Yeah.
there's really no right answer to that, because either way you're going to feel horrible in the end.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so, which is like what the basis of like most superhero movies are like made up from this. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, it's all the thing of fate, you know, like diverting a train so you can save 5 people, but were those 5 people meant to die, or are you just trying to be the hero and then eventually, you know, the other 5 people are gonna die, you know, later on in the day or later on in the week. You never know. So.
Yeah. And that's like the whole thing with vigilantism too. Like, that's the debate about vigilantes. Like, yeah, they're like killing off all these guys that are doing bad, doing evil in the world. But really they're like taking life and law into their own hands in the end too. So yeah, it's all just like black and white, not black and white. But
Black and gray.
black and gray and white and color. Well, do you ladies have any notes that you want to touch on, or thoughts that you want to touch on?
Did they actually ever confirm that Lear was Firo and Elphaba's kid, or did they just kind of allude to it? Because I don't remember.
I think they just kind of alluded to it.
Yeah, I don't remember them ever actually for sure saying Lear is Elphaba's child.
Yeah. So I think, like, that's kind of an interesting thing that I wish they would have expanded on, because obviously, like, that could be touching on postmortem depression. It's like, you know, she completely, apparently, at one point rejected that it was her child, if that was the case. So it would have been nice to bring up an issue that could be talked about, so that some people, I don't know, I like those rare issues that no one talks about.
Yeah, definitely.
It would help out a lot of people if they did.
Yeah. Well, you can write about it.
I plan to. I'm getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely didn't elaborate, and I don't know, do you feel like you wanted him to for sure say that he was her child?
Yeah, like, just to have it, you know, because how can you not notice pushing out a baby. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
pretty
unless you were
hard.
like completely unconscious, which was what I
Yeah,
gathered she was.
yeah, and I guess like that's how her mother was, so could have been the same situation.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe not then, but now, if someone was like, I'm not sure if I had a baby or not, like, wouldn't there be a medical way of checking that? Like, for tearing or anything? Anything, really.
Not
Well,
unless you're really knocked out.
well, and then there's like the umbilical cord, right? Like I was actually thinking about that. I'm like, how did they, like, what did they do before, now where we cut it and tie it and stuff? It's like, what did they used to do for that?
Yeah.
They probably used some really sharp, like, rock or something, or like
Yeah.
stone.
Yeah, so that would definitely be a good indicator that you just gave birth to a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, that's a weird thing. But I don't know. I felt bad for Lear. Not a
Yeah.
lot of it. Oh, when he got locked in the well, that is so sad.
Yeah. But, I mean,
Yes.
it was also good response from Alphabet, like, how she found out, and the way that she responded. It was more like, kind of, like, that whole scene with Alphabet and Serena, they were kind of, like, dueling mothers in that whole situation of how
Yeah.
things should be.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think I felt bad at all when, what was that kid who was bullying Lear? What was his name? When he died, I didn't feel bad about that at all.
I didn't feel bad about it either. I think his can begin with like M or something. That's
Yeah, I
don't
forget.
remember his name.
He was just that unimportant.
Unimportant bully.
I think it's Manrick. I think. Yeah, Manrick. That's how I'll respond to it.
Yeah, I didn't feel that at all at his death.
It's like, you're a jerk
But-
child.
So the next book is about him, about Lear.
I think so. I mean, it's Son of a Witch, so you automatically
Witch.
assume it's about.
I would
Lear,
assume so, yeah. Like,
yeah.
who else would it be about? Unless Nessa Rose had a son. Which I guess you never know with these people.
Never know.
That,
Around these times they get around, so.
Oh yeah, you said you had a video of the musical, right? We're gonna watch it when you come down.
Sure, yeah, I can bring
Yeah.
the CD. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. All right. Anything else in your notes or that you want to bring up? Because I'm blanking now.
Yeah, no. We covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we covered lots of
This book.
themes. And are there any other characters you want to talk about? Like we talked about Melina. I think we touched on Frizz. Like, do you want to talk about Glinda? Or I think we sort of did. We talked about how
Yeah.
she kind of got better over time. Like at first she was really spoiled. But then she started, like, I know Elphaba sort of like helped her kind of start developing real thought instead of just being like saying
Stupid.
things that she being stupid and saying things that she thought would make her more popular. Instead,
Yeah.
Elphaba sort of like helped encourage like some really real thought process from her.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it when like Alphaba would say something like, she has thought. Like she isn't stupid. She just refuses to use her brain. Is basically.
Yeah. She sometimes she accidentally uses her brain. Yeah, that was funny. I did like the dynamics of that relationship. I thought it was really interesting. And I thought it was kind of weird how her name was Galinda, and then the death of this teacher caused her to change it to Glinda.
Yeah.
But like, I don't feel like she really cared about that teacher before. Like, am I missing something? Or like I feel like she wasn't even involved with Dr. Dillard or whatever his name was. And then he died, and she was just so like shaken up by it, but that she's like, yeah, my name's Glinda now. It's like it didn't seem like you guys were close enough for you to like change your name based on his death. Like I thought that was a
No, I
little bit
think she
weird.
just changed her name on persona, like what she wanted to be as fully grown up. That's all she wanted to be, not Glinda, but Glinda.
Right.
Yeah. I think it was like, because he did ask her her perspective at one point. And so I think it was one of those things. She did it not out of respect, but hopefully as an illusion of respect so that other people would like her.
Right.
Or realize, like, oh,
Yeah.
she did that for him, like, blah, blah, blah. And, like, again, that's one of the things that the musical explains. Like, the way they explain
Way
it
better.
makes a little more sense. But yeah, he, like, didn't even, I thought it was weird.
Get some money for my car, and we'll be on our way.
Sounds dumb.
Yeah, and then it was weird when like when they like left school and she all of a sudden had this like church named after her or something.
Well, no, but
Like did it ever explain what exactly she did to get a church named after her? Like her name it was Saint Glinda.
Yeah.
She paid a lot of money. This is probably plain simple. She
Probably.
just had a lot of money and just paid for a lot of money.
Probably.
Make herself
That's
look
true.
really good.
Yeah, no doubt. She is now Saint. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that relationship was all really intriguing, kind of and then it developed into them having this weird, like, good acquaintance relationship in the end, and then Glinda gives away her shoes, and it's just, like, a weird thing. Like, I thought from beginning to end that whole relationship was pretty interesting.
It was a whole love-hate relationship, so...
Yeah. Yeah, they loved each other and hated each other. I was surprised that Nessa Rose was so pissed that Elphaba left her. Like, was that just for her own personal reasons too? Like, she just needed Elphaba to basically like carry her around, and so when Elphaba left, she was like, "What the heck? Who's gonna carry me around?"
Yeah.
Because from what I could gather, they weren't emotionally attached to each other, right?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think if anything, like, Elphaba loved Nessa more
Yeah.
than Nessa loved her. So
Yeah.
Nessa was really selfish.
I don't know. He called me.
Yeah, she was super selfish. It's like, which was interesting because again, it's like everybody loved Nessa Rose or whatever, like at first, and even Elphaba was like, "Oh, you'll see when she gets here why everybody loves her," but then she was like just spoiled.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And not like,
I can figure out how to get to work on my.
yeah, it was interesting, like the contrast between the type of spoiled, like, because Glinda was spoiled, and Nessa Rose was spoiled, but they weren't.
Like, Nessa Rose was more disabled spoiled, and Glinda
Yeah, like,
was
she just-
more kind of wealthy spoiled.
Yeah. Like, Nessa Rose was used to people babying her, whereas Glinda was used to just being rich, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess.
I'm talking to people.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Hey, Eric.
Just got home. Kim says hi.
I'm like trying to think of all the other characters here that played a significant role. We talked about the wizard, Nessa Rose, Elphaba, Bach.
What about
We didn't really.
Or...
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh.
That scene where she was like the poetry slam thing.
Right?
Her poetry was just so terrible. It was so funny.
I hated it. I was like, what is this? Like, this
Yeah.
doesn't
I was
make
like,
any
is
sense.
this? I was reading it. It was one of those things where it's like, is this supposed to be terrible, or do I just not like poetry? I thought it was just like so bad. Yeah, it's definitely supposed to be terrible.
Yeah.
Aww,
Look what
where's
I got.
mine? Where's mine?
We're just gonna send it to you.
Yeah. Express mail, please.
Oh yeah, Michelle, you're missing out.
I know.
Aw,
I know.
I feel so bad. Bummer. Now I want Tim Hortons. Maybe I'll pick some up on the way to get the keys for our new house.
Okay, sorry, we got interrupted.
That's okay.
Good interruption though.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I missed.
Well, why don't
Mrs.
you?
Marvel.
Yeah, why don't you start with
Okay.
your thoughts on her?
It sucks because, like, at the beginning, I really liked her. Like, she wasn't willing to give in to Galinda. Like, she obviously knew she was lying at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh, well, you'll be set up with Elphaba. Like, haha. Kind of, like, it was mean because obviously she knew that people don't like Alpha because of her skin. But at the same time, like, you know, she kind of gave off the, you know what, too bad, so sad kind of thing. This is what you get, because you weren't on the ball or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, the more you learned about her, it was like, I don't really hate her. Like, at first, I thought she was just reciting those poems because those were the poems that were interesting. But then as we went on, it's like, oh wait, she actually did have the feelings towards animals.
And Jody and Janie, like, they said that they would take
It sucks, like,
take me
that she worked with him and still went through with it.
I know, that's weird. Like, he was her coworker and she still had no respect for. I don't.
Even
She
though
was just-
a lot of other people had respect for him.
Yeah, it's strange.
Maybe she was jealous.
Maybe. Yeah, she was just a weird character with weird goals and a weird perspective.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't really know why she had that motive, other than, I guess, to get favored by the wizard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I gathered from it, was she was just like sort of, yeah, she was wanting that favor to be on the wizard's side or whatever, the prestige of it, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, was she really passionate about these views?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
know.
maybe she did have those views before, and the wizard just kind of gave her that outlet to be able to express those views.
It's true. Yeah, I don't know. So, did she die before Elphaba killed her, or did Elphaba kill her?
I thought she died before.
Yeah, I
I
think
did too.
that was the thing that they made you think, and then I feel like there was one part in the book for some reason that made me think that maybe I was wrong, but maybe I'm wrong about being wrong.
I think it was probably one of those things where it's like that's what things the protagonist was really, you know, hoping to accomplish, and it was taken away from her.
Yeah.
So now what are you gonna do, kind of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, this act of justice that she wanted to dish out was just like, she was already dead. That sucks.
yeah, if you
that was
haven't seen
interesting.
Daredevil, that happens in Daredevil.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah.
Thanks for spoiling it for me.
Well,
Just kidding. I'm
you
sure
don't know what
I've
happens.
seen it. I've probably seen it like at least twice, and it just like I don't remember.
It's good.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely thought Elphaba would get that justice. I was not expecting Madame Morrible to be dead on arrival.
Well,
DOA.
it does it to, like, not only does it do it to the, like, main character, but it does it to us too. Like, we're expecting it, and we're like, yes, and then it's like, no.
Yeah, I know.
Why? Why
Gosh.
can't you
It's like a wasted
The
trip.
sense of justice is definitely taken away here. Yeah, definitely. Any thoughts on Madame Morrible, Michelle?
I think that she was, to me it seemed like she was a good antagonist kind of point of view, because, I mean, for me it was more Alphabet and Glinda were like both good, and then with Madame Morrible it was how she was portrayed to me was because she was always trying to brainwash the girls and all different stuff, so it just seems like she needed to die.
Yeah, what she was doing was definitely not cool.
Not cool at all.
No. Any other thoughts on her? I'm like really racking my brain. I should take better notes, but like there's some books that I find with books like this, since I don't really feel like I have a full perspective right up until the end, I don't really know what notes to take.
Yeah. I feel like I was more focused on finishing the book than taking notes.
Yeah. I was too. When did you finish?
Like this morning.
Oh. Perfect.
Yeah, so having this short book while I'm doing exams will hopefully be way better.
Yeah.
I'll plan it out.
That'll be good.
Yeah, because like this one, I was like, I've had it all planned out, and I tried to keep up with it, and then I got behind, and then it was like, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. School sucks. I love it,
no
but it
kidding.
sucks.
Oh yeah, I don't miss being in school at all. Right. Well, on that note, do any of you guys have any other thoughts, or should we talk about the next book we're doing?
I'm okay with moving on.
I'm good with moving on.
All right. Yeah, well, we've been at it for an hour and a half, so.
About time.
Yeah. Okay, so we have decided, thanks to the couple people that put in their thoughts and input on the message boards about what book to cover in March and April. The theme that we threw out there for you guys was Spring Fever, and we had a few suggestions like Me Before You was one, Perks of Being a Wallflower, the Snow Like Ashes series, and was there one more?
All the things about being pretty or something like that. I can't remember the
Oh,
exact
yeah.
Something about summer. So I remember summer.
What was that book you said you liked, Gabby?
The Summer I Turned Pretty.
The Summer I Turned
Yeah,
Pretty.
that one.
Yeah, The Summer I Turned Pretty was the other suggestion. Oh yeah, one other series that I thought would fit well into this theme is like the Anna and the French Kiss series. Those are very springy, and like the covers are very bright and cheerful. I forgot to mention that before.
Too.
Yeah. Well, I've already read Anna and the French Kiss, so I'd probably want to do Lola and the Boy Next Door. I think they're pretty much standalone, but it's the thing where they reference the other books. But as far as I know, you can read them on their own. But anyways, we didn't talk about that. So, but yeah, so the book we decided to do is Perks of Being a Wallflower, and we picked that one because the title sounds nice and springy, and it's also a short book. Because a few of us have some things going on these next couple months. So a short book would be good, but we've heard lots about Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I have a feeling that it's going to be a short but impactful book. So that should be good. So for those of you, if anybody's watching this, that want to join us for our March and April read, we'll have Perks of Being a Wallflower done by the end of April. And Michelle, are you going to join us as a panelist again?
Sure.
Sweet. And I'm hoping maybe Mitch will be able to join us next time, and maybe Brittany will even be able to join us this time.
Yeah,
so
she should.
Yeah, I'll put out the shout out for that. Even if me and Mitch are just doing like a road trip through BC and maybe Montana for our honeymoon, so we should be able to power through Perks of Being a Wallflower together in the car.
Yeah.
So he's not going to have any excuse not to be on the panel. So yeah, I'm sure he'll want to. He had a lot of fun last time, so he was really funny. He was like, so how long do you think this meeting will take? Like 15, 20 minutes? And I was like, no, usually, even if I'm talking to one other person about a book, it takes like 2 or 3 hours. And he's like, what? Like, he was just like so mind blown. And I was like,
well, this book is pretty short, so
he was like,
if it's
well, yes.
an hour.
Yeah, and he was, well, I mean, about the last one, The Book Thief. He was like, I do not have that many things to talk about. And I was like, well, but when you're talking to other people, the things they say bring up thoughts that you counter it with and like all that kind of stuff. So it turns into a discussion. Whereas if it's just like a solo video, yeah, you can cover your thoughts in like 5 minutes. But But with other people, things get brought up that you didn't think about before, or like, yeah. So it ends up being a couple hours. But he was just like, what? But he actually really ended up enjoying himself last time. So, and I'd like to have him back. He has good perspectives on things. So
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully we'll have a five-person panel next month.
That'll be
or
awesome.
in April.
That
That
would
would
be
be
nice,
fun.
good chat.
Yeah, that would be a nice good chat. So that's the goal. A five guest panel with a short book. It's like perfect.
We'll have
All
lots
right.
to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I will go ahead and post that on the message boards. I guess I'll have to go right away and pick up the perks of being a wallflower because I'll have to divide it properly on the message boards for people to post in. And then we can start reading. And then we will discuss, I'll start a chat with us 5 or us 4 on Facebook and you on Twitter, Michelle. Unless you want to add me to Facebook, then I can put you into our Facebook messages.
I can add you to Facebook. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, we'll get that message going and figure out how many panel members we have, and then sometime in March we'll figure out the theme that we want to do for May and June. Wow, it's like crazy thinking this far ahead. But
I know.
yeah, that's wild. So
2016's already started to fly by.
I know, it's wild. So yeah, I'm excited.
You'll be married.
I'm excited for this spring fever theme. I feel like it'll be like my brain needs a break. So
Yeah, agreed.
okay, and then me and Kirsty will get back to all y'all about our live show for Graceling.
Yeah.
So we have those couple things coming up within the next few months. So check in.
Should be a good time.
Yeah. All right. Do you guys have any other closing thoughts?
No.
We're good to go?
Come join us.
Yeah. And we can always, if we have any other random thoughts, like the message boards for Wicked will still be up. We can still chat about it if we really feel like it.
Yeah. Sorry, Michelle. We kind of we dropped the ball on that. We'll be
Oh,
better
yeah.
next time.
Well, geez, I didn't know this book was going to take me forever. Like, I planned to be done it, like, mid-April so that I could get involved in, like, the discussions at the end of April, but for some reason I just didn't have time, and then when I did have time, like, it was, like, it really took some slogging through this one.
Yeah.
But
So,
we did it. We did
the
it.
perks of being a wallflower, I'm sure I will do better with.
Yeah, we'll easily fly through that book because it's a little bit more shorter than the other ones. So.
Yeah. And the subject material probably won't be so, like,
Heavy.
and dry parts. So, all right, perfect. Well, I'm excited. Thank you, ladies, for joining me. All the way from, where are you from, Michelle, again?
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
All right, all the way from Alberta and Tennessee. All right, so we will connect later then. TTYL. I'm going to go eat some chocolate cake that my roommate made. Okay. Bye.
Bye.